The outcast's sanctuary. The twin sons of Novaria cast long shadows across the barren landscape, their dying light painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold. In the distance, the silhouette of a lone figure moved gracefully among the twisted rock formations, her movements fluid and purposeful. This was Zara, the last of her kind on a world that had long since rejected her. Zara's skin shimmered with an iridescent blue hue, catching the fading sunlight and reflecting it in mesmerizing patterns. Her large, almond-shaped eyes, deep as the night sky, scanned the horizon with a mix of caution and curiosity. She moved with the grace of a predator, every step calculated and silent. As she navigated the treacherous terrain, a low rumble echoed through the canyon. To most inhabitants of Novaria, this sound would herald imminent danger, but for Zara, it was a comfort. From the shadows emerged a creature that defied description, part feline, part reptile, with bioluminescent patterns pulsing along its sleek body. This was Nexus, Zara's companion and protector. Nexus padded silently to Zara's side, its massive head easily reaching her shoulder. She placed a hand on its muscular neck, feeling the warmth and strength beneath her fingers. "Easy, my friend," she murmured in a language that was more thought than sound. "We're alone out here." The bond between Zara and Nexus was unlike anything seen before on Novaria. It transcended the normal boundaries between sentient beings and wild creatures. They communicated without words, sharing thoughts and emotions through a psychic link that had formed years ago when both were young and vulnerable. As night fell, Zara and Nexus made their way to a hidden cavern, their sanctuary in this harsh world. The entrance was concealed behind a cascade of bioluminescent vines, their soft glow providing just enough light to navigate the narrow passage. Inside, the cavern opened up into a vast chamber, its walls adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to move and shift in the dim light. Zara settled onto a bed of soft moss, her back against Nexus's warm flank. She closed her eyes, allowing her mind to wander back to the time before her exile. Memories of her people, the Novarians, flooded her consciousness, their advanced civilization, their deep connection to the planet, and their eventual fear and rejection of those who were different. Zara had been born with abilities that set her apart. She could communicate with the wild creatures of Novaria, form bonds that her people believed unnatural and dangerous. When Nexus appeared, a creature previously unknown and feared by all, Zara alone saw beyond its fearsome exterior. That instantaneous connection sealed her fate among her own kind. The Novarian elders, in their fear and ignorance, had branded her an abomination. They spoke of ancient prophecies and the dangers of upsetting the natural order. In the end, it was decided that Zara would be exiled to the Wastelands, the uninhabited and treacherous region of Novaria, where few dared to venture. But what was meant as a death sentence became Zara's rebirth. In the Wastelands, she discovered a freedom she had never known. Here, away from the judging eyes of her people, she could explore the full extent of her abilities. Nexus became not just a companion, but an extension of herself. Together, they roamed the Wastelands, discovering hidden oases of life amidst the desolation. Zara learned to commune with plants, coaxing them to grow in the harshest conditions. She discovered ancient ruins that hinted at a time when Novaria had been a very different world, and all the while, her bond with Nexus grew stronger. As the years passed, rumors of the wild girl and her beast began to spread. Traders who dared to skirt the edges of the Wastelands spoke in hushed tones of strange sightings. A blue-skinned figure accompanied by a creature out of nightmares. Some claimed she was a witch, others a demon, but none dared to seek her out. Zara was aware of these rumors, catching snippets of thought and emotion from the few beings that ventured near her territory. Part of her longed for connection, for someone to understand her gifts rather than fear them. But the pain of rejection ran deep, and she had learned to find contentment in her solitude and her bond with Nexus. As she drifted off to sleep, Zara's mind brushed against Nexus's consciousness. She felt its unwavering loyalty, its fierce protectiveness, and beneath it all, a deep well of ancient wisdom that she had only begun to tap into. There was more to Nexus than met the eye, secrets waiting to be uncovered. Little did Zara know that far above Novaria's atmosphere, a small trading vessel was about to change the course of her isolated existence. Aboard was Ely Donovan, a human explorer and trader with an insatiable curiosity for the unknown. His arrival would set in motion a chain of events that would not only challenge everything Zara believed about herself and her world, but would also put to the test humanity's capacity for understanding and acceptance in the face of the truly alien. As the first light of dawn began to creep into the cavern, Zara stirred. She sensed a change in the air, a shift in the delicate balance of energies that she had become attuned to over the years. Something was coming, something that would shatter the quiet routine of her exile and force her to confront the world she had left behind. Nexus, sensing Zara's unease, let out a low, rumbling growl. The sound reverberated through the cavern, a warning to unseen threats and a reminder of the formidable alliance between girl and beast. Zara placed a calming hand on Nexus's flank, her mind reaching out to soothe her companion's concerns. "I feel it too," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "But whatever comes, we'll face it together." As they prepared to venture out into the dawning day, neither Zara nor Nexus could have imagined the adventures that lay ahead, adventures that would challenge their bond, reveal long-hidden truths about Novaria's past, and ultimately bridge the vast gulf between two very different species. The story of the outcast and her extraordinary companion was about to intersect with that of a curious human trader, setting the stage for a tale of discovery, danger, and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to reach across the boundaries of the known universe. The Curious Trader. The sleek trading vessel Stargazer dropped out of hyperspace with a shimmer of blue light, its hull gleaming in the reflected glow of Novaria's twin suns. At the helm, Ely Donovan leaned forward, his green eyes wide with excitement as he took in the sight of the planet below. Ely was not your typical trader. At 32, he had already gained a reputation as someone who sought out the unusual, the overlooked, and sometimes the dangerous. His shock of unruly red hair and the smattering of freckles across his nose gave him a boyish appearance that belied his sharp intellect and years of experience navigating the complexities of interstellar trade. "Novaria," he murmured, more to himself than to the ship's AA. "Let's see what secrets you're hiding." The planet's surface was a patchwork of rust-colored deserts, jagged mountain ranges, and the occasional glimmer of what might be bodies of water. But it wasn't the landscape that had drawn Ely to this remote corner of the galaxy. It was the rumors. Whispers of a mysterious outcast with extraordinary abilities and a creature unlike any seen before. As the Stargazer began its descent through Novaria's atmosphere, Ely reviewed the scant information he had gathered. The planet's inhabitants, the Novarians, were known to be reclusive and wary of off-worlders. Their society was highly structured, with a rigid caste system and a deep-seated fear of anything that disrupted their notion of natural order. But it was the story of the exiled girl that had captured Ely's imagination. He had pieced together fragments of information from drunk spacers in seedy bars and hesitant traders who had skirted the edges of Novarian space. A girl with skin like the night sky, they said, who could speak to beasts and make the very rocks sing. And by her side, a creature so terrifying that even hardened warriors turned tail and ran. To most, these were nothing more than tall tales, the kind of stories that grew taller with each retelling. But Ely had learned long ago that often the most fantastical stories held a kernel of truth, and it was those kernels he sought, for in them lay not just potential profit, but the key to understanding the vast and varied tapestry of life in the universe. The Stargazer touched down on the outskirts of Ket-Aura, one of the few Novarian settlements that allowed limited trade with off-worlders. As Ely stepped out of his ship, the heat hit him like a physical force. He squinted against the harsh glare of the suns, grateful for the protective field that surrounded the landing pad. A group of Novarians approached, their movements deliberate and wary. Ely took a moment to study them, They were tall and slender, with skin that ranged from deep purple to a pale lavender. Their eyes, large and entirely black, regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Welcome to Ketara, trader," the lead Novarian said, his voice melodious but tinged with caution. "State your business." Eli smiled, adopting the easygoing demeanor that had served him well in countless first contacts. "I'm here to trade, of course. I've got medical supplies, water purifiers, and some lovely earth textiles that I think you'll find quite interesting." The Novarian's expression didn't change, but Eli sensed a slight relaxation in his posture. "Very well. You may conduct your business in the designated trading area. Do not attempt to venture beyond the city limits. The wastelands are forbidden to outsiders." As the group led him towards the trading area, Ellie's mind raced. The wastelands, that had to be where the exiled girl was living. But how to gather information without arousing suspicion? The trading post was a bustling hive of activity, with Novarians examining off-world goods with careful scrutiny. Illy set up his wares, all the while keeping his ears open for any snippet of conversation that might prove useful. It was as he was negotiating the sale of a water purifier that he overheard something intriguing. Two Novarians, their voices low, were discussing recent disturbances in the wastelands. The beast was seen again, one whispered. "Larger than before, they say. And the girl, some claim she can manipulate the very fabric of reality." Illy's heart raced, but he kept his expression neutral as he completed the sale. This was exactly the kind of information he had been hoping for, but he needed more. As the day wore on, Eli carefully probed for information, trading not just goods but stories. He spoke of strange creatures on distant worlds, of phenomena that defied explanation, all the while watching for reactions, for any sign that might confirm the truth of the rumors he had heard. It was near sunset when he finally struck gold. An older Novarian, his skin a faded lilac, approached Eli's stall. There was something different about him, a wariness in his eyes, a slight tremor in his hands. "You seek knowledge of the outcast," the old one said, his voice barely above a whisper. Eli's breath caught in his throat. "What do you know of her?" The old Novarian glanced around nervously before leaning in close. "She was once one of us. A child of great promise, with gifts beyond our understanding. But our fear, our foolishness, we cast her out, into the wastelands where none survive." "But she did survive," Eli prompted gently. The old one nodded, his eyes distant. "More than survived, she thrived. The creatures of the wastelands, they bowed to her will. And the great beast, it is said they are two halves of one soul." Eli's mind reeled with the implications. If even half of this was true, the girl and her creature represented a form of symbiosis never before encountered. The scientific implications alone were staggering, to say nothing of the potential applications. "Where can I find her?" Eli asked, trying to keep the excitement from his voice. The old Novarian's eyes snapped back to Ellie's face, suddenly sharp and alert. "You must not seek her out. The wastelands are death to those who do not belong. And she is no longer of our world. The power she wields, it is not meant for mortal understanding." With that cryptic warning, the old one shuffled away, leaving Eli with more questions than answers. But one thing was certain, he could not leave Novaria without attempting to make contact with the outcast. As night fell, Eli returned to the Stargazer, his mind buzzing with plans. He knew the risks were enormous. The wastelands were treacherous enough on their own, to say nothing of the potential dangers posed by the girl and her beast. But the potential rewards, not just in terms of knowledge, but in the possibility of bridging the gap between two vastly different forms of life, were too great to ignore. In the privacy of his ship, Eli began to prepare. He studied what little data was available on the wastelands, plotting a course that would take him deep into the forbidden territory. He packed supplies, medical equipment, and a range of scanning devices designed to collect data on unknown life forms. As he worked, a small voice in the back of his mind whispered warnings. Was he letting his curiosity override his common sense? What if the stories were true, and he was walking into the domain of a being with powers beyond his comprehension? But Eli had never been one to let fear hold him back. He had built his reputation on going where others feared to tread, on seeking out the unknown and bringing back knowledge that expanded the boundaries of understanding. As the first light of dawn began to creep across the horizon, Eli made his final preparations. He left a coded message for his contacts, just in case things went wrong. Then, with a deep breath, he fired up the Stargazer's engines. The ship rose silently into the air, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Novarian sensors. Eli set a course for the heart of the Wastlands, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. As the harsh landscape of the Wastlands unfolded beneath him, Eli couldn't help but smile. Whatever lay ahead, be it discovery, danger, or something beyond his wildest imagination, he was ready to face it. The search for the outcast and her extraordinary companion had begun. First contact. The Stargazer glided silently over the desolate landscape of the Wastlands, its advanced cloaking technology ensuring it remained undetected. Eli's eyes darted between the ship's sensors and the harsh terrain below, searching for any sign of life amidst the twisted rock formations and barren plains. As the twin suns climbed higher in the sky, the heat became oppressive. Even within the climate-controlled confines of his ship, Eli could feel the intensity of Novaria's harsh environment. He wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, his determination unwavering despite the challenging conditions. Suddenly, a blip on the sensor caught his attention. Something was moving down there, something big. Eli's heart raced as he guided the Stargazer lower for a closer look. Through the viewscreen, he caught a glimpse of a massive shape darting between rock formations. It moved with a fluid grace that belied its size, its hide shimmering with bioluminescent patterns. "That has to be it," Eli muttered to himself, his voice tight with excitement. The creature from the stories. He set the Stargazer down in a small canyon, hoping the rock walls would provide some cover. As the ship's engines powered down, Eli took a deep breath, centering himself for what lay ahead. He donned a lightweight exosuit designed to protect him from Novaria's harsh environment and armed himself with a variety of scanning devices and non-lethal defensive weapons. As Eli stepped out of the ship, the full force of Novaria's heat hit him like a physical blow. The air shimmered with mirages, distorting the already alien landscape. He activated his suit's cooling system and began to make his way carefully through the canyon. Every step was a challenge. The ground was treacherous, shifting beneath his feet, and strange, spiny plants seemed to reach out to snag his suit. Eli moved slowly, all his senses on high alert. He knew he was in the domain of beings far more adapted to this harsh world than he could ever be. After what felt like hours of grueling travel, Eli emerged from the canyon into a wider valley. What he saw there made him stop in his tracks, his breath catching in his throat. In the center of the valley stood a young woman. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent blue hue that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Her large dark eyes were fixed on Eli, showing no sign of surprise at his presence, and beside her, its massive form coiled protectively around her, was the creature he had glimpsed from the air. Up close, the beast was even more awe-inspiring. It was easily the size of a small shuttle, its body a seamless blend of feline grace and reptilian power. Bioluminescent patterns flowed across its hide like living circuitry, pulsing in time with some unheard rhythm. For a long moment, no one moved. The only sound was the whisper of the hot wind across the rocks and the rapid beating of Ellie's heart. Then, slowly, deliberately, the woman took a step forward. "You should not be here, off-worlder," she said, her voice carrying clearly across the distance between them. It was melodious, with an underlying resonance that seemed to vibrate in Ellie's very bones. The Wastlands are not kind to the unprepared. Eli swallowed hard, fighting to keep his voice steady. "I'm Eli Donovan," he said, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I've come seeking knowledge, not conflict. Are you the one they call the outcast?" A flicker of emotion passed across the woman's face, pain, perhaps, or old anger. That name was given to me by those who feared what they did not understand. I am Zara, and this, she gestured to the creature beside her, is Nexus. As if in response to its name, Nexus let out a low rumble that Eli felt more than heard. The creature's eyes, glowing with an inner light, fixed on him with an intelligence that was unmistakably sentient. "It's an honor to meet you both," Eli said, his scientific curiosity overriding his fear. "I've heard stories, but nothing could have prepared me for this reality." Zara tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made Ellie feel as if she was looking into his very soul. "Why have you sought us out, Eli Donovan? Few venture into the wastelands willingly, and fewer still with the purpose of finding us." Eli took a deep breath, knowing that his next words could determine the course of this encounter. "I'm a trader and an explorer," he explained. "I seek out the unknown, the misunderstood. When I heard the stories about you in Nexus, I couldn't stay away. The bond you share, the abilities you're said to possess, they could revolutionize our understanding of interspecies communication, of the very nature of consciousness itself." As he spoke, Eli noticed a change in the air around them. The bioluminescent patterns on Nexus's hide began to pulse more rapidly, and he could have sworn he saw similar patterns flickering across Zara's skin. Zara's expression softened slightly, a hint of curiosity entering her eyes. "Your words are grand, Eli Donovan, but I have learned to be wary of those who seek to study us. Too often, curiosity turns to fear, and fear to violence." Eli nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I can only imagine what you've been through," he said softly. "But I promise you, my intentions are purely in the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. I believe that by learning from each other, we can bridge the gaps between different species, different ways of being." As he finished speaking, something extraordinary happened. Nexus, who had remained still throughout the exchange, suddenly uncoiled its massive body. With a grace that seemed impossible for a creature of its size, it moved towards Eli. Ellie's heart pounded in his chest, every instinct screaming at him to run. But he held his ground, trusting in the fact that if Zara and Nexus meant him harm, they could have done so already. Nexus lowered its great head until it was level with Ellie's. This close, Eli could see the complexity of the creature's eyes, swirling pools of color that seemed to contain entire galaxies. Then, to his utter astonishment, he felt a gentle pressure in his mind, like a tentative knock on a door. Zara's voice, when she spoke, was filled with wonder. "Remarkable. Nexus wishes to communicate with you directly. This is unprecedented." Eli's scientific mind raced with the implications, even as another part of him marveled at the sheer alienness of the experience. "What shall I do?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Relax your mind," Zara instructed, moving to stand beside Nexus. "Open yourself to the possibility of a connection beyond words." Taking a deep breath, Eli closed his eyes. He focused on clearing his mind, on being open to whatever might come. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, his mind was flooded with a cascade of images, emotions, and concepts so alien and yet so profound that he gasped aloud. He saw the wastelands through Nexus's eyes, a place not of desolation but of hidden beauty and teeming life. He felt the deep bond between Nexus and Zara, a connection that transcended physical form. And beyond that, he glimpsed something vast and ancient, a wellspring of knowledge that hinted at secrets long forgotten by both humans and Novarians. As quickly as it had begun, the connection faded. Eli opened his eyes, blinking in the harsh sunlight. He felt changed, as if the brief mental touch had altered something fundamental within him. Zara was watching him, her expression a mix of surprise and growing respect. "You have a rare gift, Eli Donovan," she said. "Few can withstand direct communication with Nexus, let alone understand what they perceive." Eli nodded, still trying to process the experience. "It was incredible," he managed. "There's so much I don't understand, so much I want to learn." A small smile, the first Eli had seen, graced Zara's features. "Perhaps," she said, "you are not like the others who have sought us out. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other." As the suns began to dip towards the horizon, casting long shadows across the valley, Eli realized that this was only the beginning. He had come seeking knowledge, but he had found something far greater: the potential for a true exchange of ideas between vastly different forms of life. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with dangers both physical and philosophical. But as he stood there, with Zara and Nexus regarding him with newfound curiosity, Eli knew that he was on the brink of a discovery that could change the course of interstellar relations forever. The first contact had been made. Now, the real work would begin, the looming threat. As the days passed, Eli found himself immersed in a world beyond his wildest imagination. Zara and Nexus had cautiously welcomed him into their sanctuary, a hidden oasis nestled deep within the wastelands. Here, shielded from the harsh Novarian suns by a canopy of bioluminescent vegetation, Eli began to unravel the mysteries that had drawn him to this forsaken corner of the galaxy. Each day brought new wonders. Eli watched in awe as Zara communicated with the flora and fauna of the wastelands, coaxing life from the barren earth with a mere touch. Nexus, ever present and watchful, allowed Eli brief glimpses into its vast consciousness, each mental touch leaving the human reeling with new insights into the nature of life and the universe. But it was the bond between Zara and Nexus that truly captivated Eli. They moved as one, their thoughts and actions so perfectly synchronized that it often seemed as if they were a single being in two bodies. Through careful observation and gentle questioning, Eli began to piece together their extraordinary story. "We were both outcasts," Zara explained one evening as they sat beneath the glowing canopy. "I rejected by my people for abilities they feared, and Nexus, the last of an ancient species long thought extinct. Our meeting was fate, perhaps, or simply the universe's way of bringing together two halves of a whole." Eli nodded, his mind racing with the implications. "And your abilities, the way you can communicate with the life here, the way you seem to be able to manipulate the very fabric of reality." Zara's expression grew thoughtful. "It is not manipulation, not really. It's understanding. Everything in this universe is connected, Eli. Most beings simply can't perceive those connections. But Nexus and I, together, we can see the threads that bind all life, all matter. And once you can see those threads, you can influence them," Eli finished, his voice filled with wonder. But even as Eli delved deeper into the mysteries of Zara and Nexus, a shadow began to loom over their newfound alliance. It started with subtle changes in the environment, shifts in air pressure, unexplained tremors in the ground. At first, Eli attributed these phenomena to the harsh and unpredictable nature of the wastelands. But as the days wore on, even Zara and Nexus began to show signs of unease. It was during one of their mental communication sessions that Eli first sensed the true scale of the impending danger. As his mind touched Nexus's vast consciousness, he was suddenly overwhelmed by a vision of catastrophe, the very planet of Novaria torn asunder by forces beyond comprehension. Gasping, Eli broke the connection, his heart pounding. What was that?" he panted, looking between Zara and Nexus with wide eyes. Zara's face was grim, her usually shimmering skin dulled with concern. "You saw it too then, the awakening." "Awakening? Of what?" Zara exchanged a long look with Nexus before turning back to Eli. "There is much about this planet that even my people do not know, Eli. Novaria holds secrets far older than any civilization. Nexus is not just the last of its kind. It is a guardian, created eons ago to watch over something ancient and terribly powerful." Eli felt a chill run down his spine despite the oppressive heat. "And this thing is waking up." Nexus let out a low, mournful sound that seemed to resonate through the very ground. Zara nodded, her expression solemn. "Yes, deep beneath the surface of Novaria, something stirs. Something that, if fully awakened, could tear this planet apart and threaten countless others. The implications hit Eli like a physical blow. His mind raced with questions, with the potential consequences of such a catastrophe. But amidst the fear and confusion, a spark of determination ignited within him. "There has to be something we can do," he said, his voice firm despite the tremor of fear he couldn't quite suppress. "Between your abilities, Nexus's ancient knowledge, and my technology, there must be a way to prevent this." Zora's eyes met his, a glimmer of hope breaking through her concern. "Perhaps," she said slowly, "but it would be dangerous, Eli. We would be facing forces beyond our comprehension, powers that have lain dormant for millennia. And we would have to do it alone. My people, they would never understand, never believe us in time." Eli stood, his resolve strengthening with each passing moment. "Then it's up to us. We might be the only ones who can save Novaria, and who knows how many other worlds." As if in response to his words, the ground beneath them trembled, a deep rumble echoing from far below. Nexus's bioluminescent patterns flared brightly, a visual representation of the creature's agitation. Zora rose as well, her stance mirroring Ellie's determination. "You're right. We cannot stand idly by. But Eli, you must understand. This journey may very well be one way. The dangers we face, there's no guarantee of survival." Eli nodded, a wry smile touching his lips despite the gravity of the situation. "I knew the risks when I came looking for you, Zara. I'm not about to back down now, not when the stakes are this high." For a long moment, Zara studied him, her alien eyes seeming to peer into his very soul. Then slowly she nodded. "Very well. We will face this threat together. But first, we must prepare. The journey to the awakening will take us deep into the heart of Novaria, through territories even I have never dared to explore." As they began to gather supplies and make plans, Eli couldn't help but marvel at the turn his expedition had taken. He had come seeking knowledge, hoping to bridge the gap between different forms of life. Now, he found himself part of an unlikely trio, preparing to embark on a mission to save not just a planet, but potentially the entire sector. The ground shook again, more violently this time. In the distance, a plume of dust rose from the barren plains, a visible sign of the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. Time was running out. As the twin suns of Novaria dipped below the horizon, casting the world into an eerie twilight, Eli, Zara, and Nexus set out. Their destination, the very heart of the planet, where an ancient power stirred from its long slumber. The fate of worlds rested on their shoulders, that unlikely alliance the last hope against a threat beyond imagination. The real test of their newfound bond was about to begin. Race against time. The journey into the depths of Novaria was unlike anything Eli had ever experienced. As they ventured further from Zara and Nexus's sanctuary, the landscape transformed, becoming increasingly alien and treacherous. The ground beneath their feet pulsed with an ominous energy, and strange, crystalline formations jetted from the earth, their surfaces reflecting distorted images of the travelers. Ellie's exosuit, designed for the harsh surface conditions, struggled to adapt to the changing environment. He found himself relying more and more on Zora's guidance and Nexus's protective presence. The bond between the three of them deepened with each obstacle they overcame, forged in the crucible of their shared mission. As they descended through a series of vast, winding caverns, Zora shared more of Novaria's hidden history. Long ago, she explained, her voice echoing in the cavernous space, "My people were not limited to the surface. We lived in harmony with the planet, from its highest peaks to its deepest core, but something changed. A great calamity forced us to abandon the depths, to forget the old ways." Eli, his curiosity piqued despite their dire circumstances, couldn't help but ask, what kind of calamity could force an entire civilization to abandon such knowledge? Zara's expression grew troubled. The histories are vague, but they speak of a great power, a force that could reshape reality itself. Our ancestors feared it, locked it away deep within the planet's core. Nexus's kind were created to stand guard, to ensure it never awakened. As if on cue, Nexus let out a low, mournful sound. The bioluminescent patterns on its hide flared brightly, illuminating the cavern in a ghostly light. Through their mental link, Eli caught glimpses of ancient battles, of cosmic forces beyond his comprehension. But something's changed, Eli mused, putting the pieces together. The safeguards are failing. Zara nodded grimly. The balance has shifted. Perhaps it's the result of Novaria's isolation, or changes in the cosmic alignment. Whatever the cause, the ancient power stirs, and with it, the potential for unimaginable destruction. As they pushed deeper into Novaria's core, the challenges mounted. They encountered pockets of reality-warping energy that played havoc with Ellie's equipment and tested even Zara and Nexus' extraordinary abilities. Strange creatures, twisted by proximity to the awakening power, lurked in the shadows. Through it all, the unlikely trio worked in seamless coordination. Ellie's scientific knowledge and adaptability complemented Zara's innate understanding of Novaria's ecosystem. Nexus, with its immense strength and cosmic awareness, cleared paths through obstacles that would have been insurmountable for the others. But as they drew closer to their goal, the strain began to show. The mental and physical toll of their journey weighed heavily on all of them. During a brief rest in a pocket of stable space, Eli noticed Zara's usually vibrant skin had dulled, her movements becoming sluggish. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. Zara managed a weak smile. "The energies here, they're disruptive. It's becoming harder to maintain my connection with the living essence of Novaria." Eli frowned, an idea forming. "Maybe I can help. My exosuit sensors have been collecting data on the energy fluctuations. If I can calibrate them to resonate with your natural frequency." Working quickly, Eli modified his suit's systems, creating a field that helped stabilize the energies around them. The effect was immediate. Color returned to Zara's skin, and Nexus's bioluminescent patterns steadied. "Thank you, Ellie," Zara said, genuine gratitude in her voice. "Your adaptability continues to impress." As they prepared to move on, a violent tremor shook the cavern. Rocks crashed down around them as the very fabric of reality seemed to ripple. "We're running out of time," Zara shouted over the din. "The awakening is accelerating." They pushed on, descending through twisting tunnels that defied the laws of physics. Gravity shifted unpredictably, forcing them to rely on Nexus's ability to navigate multidimensional space. Ellie's mind reeled as he tried to process the impossible geometries surrounding them. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of descent, they emerged into a vast chamber. At its center pulsed a swirling vortex of energy, its surface shimmering with every color imaginable and some Ellie's human eyes couldn't even process. "The Nexus Point," Zara breathed, her voice filled with awe and fear. "The source of Novaria's power, and the seal containing the ancient force." Eli's scientific mind raced as he tried to comprehend what he was seeing. The energy readings from his suit were off the charts, suggesting levels of power that dwarfed even the most advanced human technologies. Nexus moved forward, its massive form seeming to resonate with the swirling energies. Through their mental link, Eli sensed a mix of recognition and trepidation from the creature. "What do we do now?" Eli asked, shouting to be heard over the rising din of the awakening power. Zara's face was a mask of concentration. "We must restore the balance, reinforce the seal before it breaks entirely. But it will take all of us working in perfect harmony." As Zara began to explain the process, another violent tremor shook the chamber. Cracks appeared in the walls, reality itself seeming to fray at the edges. "We're out of time," Eli realized, a surge of determination cutting through his fear. "Whatever we're going to do, we have to do it now." Zara nodded, her eyes meeting Eli's. In that moment, a wordless understanding passed between them. Whatever the cost, they would see this through together. As one human, outcast, and ancient guardian moved towards the swirling vortex, the fate of Novaria, and perhaps the entire sector hung in the balance. That unlikely alliance was about to face its ultimate test. The final battle for Novaria's future had begun. A new understanding. The chamber at Novaria's core pulsed with chaotic energy as Eli, Zara, and Nexus approached the swirling vortex. The very air crackled with power, reality bending and warping around them. Ellie's exosuit sensors screamed warnings, the readings so far beyond normal parameters that the systems were on the verge of shutdown. "We need to form a triad," Zara shouted over the deafening roar of the awakening force. "Our combined energies, my connection to Novaria's life force, Nexus's ancient guardianship, and your human adaptability, Eli, might be enough to reinforce the seal." Eli nodded, pushing down his fear. "What do I need to do?" "Join minds with us," Zara instructed. "Open yourself completely. Your consciousness will be the bridge between our world and yours." Taking a deep breath, Eli stepped forward. Zara placed one hand on his shoulder, the other on Nexus. The massive creature curled its body around them, forming a living circuit. As Eli closed his eyes and opened his mind, the world fell away. He was everywhere and nowhere, his consciousness expanding beyond the confines of his physical form. He felt Zara's presence, a brilliant tapestry of life and energy interwoven with the very essence of Novaria. Nexus's mind enveloped them both, vast and ancient, carrying the weight of eons. Together, they plunged into the heart of the vortex. The experience defied description. Ellie's human mind struggled to process the sheer scale of what he was witnessing. He saw the birth of stars, the collision of galaxies, the intricate dance of subatomic particles. Past, present, and future blurred together in a kaleidoscope of possibility. At the core of it all pulsed the ancient power, a force of creation and destruction so immense that it threatened to overwhelm him. Eli felt his sense of self beginning to fragment, his consciousness scattered across countless realities. But just as he thought he would be lost, he felt Zara's presence anchoring him. Her voice, more felt than heard, guided him. "Focus, Eli. Remember who you are, why we're here." With immense effort, Eli centered himself. He thought of Earth, of the wonders he'd seen across the stars, of the unlikely friendship he formed with Zara and Nexus. Slowly, his fragmented consciousness began to coalesce. As Eli regained his focus, he became aware of Nexus's role in their triad. The ancient guardian was channeling the chaotic energies, its very being acting as a filter. But the strain was immense. Eli could sense the creature's pain, its life force flickering under the onslaught. "The seal," Zara's voice resonated through their shared consciousness. "We need to repair it, to bind the ancient power once more." Understanding flowed between them. Eli saw how the original seal had been crafted, a masterpiece of science and something beyond, something he could only think of as magic. He grasped the underlying principles, his human perspective offering new insights into its structure. Together, they began to weave a new seal. Zara's deep connection to Novaria provided the raw material, the living energy of the planet itself. Nexus's ancient knowledge guided the process, shaping the energies with practiced skill. And Eli, drawing on everything he'd learned in his travels across the stars, provided the innovation needed to adapt the seal to the changed cosmic conditions. The work was grueling, existing both in an instant and an eternity. Eli felt himself stretched to his absolute limits, his mind and spirit pushed beyond anything he'd thought possible. But slowly, steadily, the new seal took shape. As the final threads of energy fell into place, there was a moment of perfect stillness. Then, with a soundless implosion, the vortex collapsed in on itself. The chaotic energies were contained once more, bound by the combined will and knowledge of three very different beings. Eli gasped as he was thrust back into his physical body. He stumbled, caught by Zara's steady hand. Around them, the chamber was transforming. The cracks in reality were healing, the volatile energies settling into a stable hum. We did it," Eli panted, scarcely able to believe it. Zara nodded, her own exhaustion evident, but a smile of triumph on her face. Yes, Novaria is safe. The ancient power sleeps once more. Nexus let out a low, musical tone, a sound of satisfaction and relief. But as Eli turned to the creature, he noticed something had changed. The bioluminescent patterns on its hide were fainter, its massive form somehow less substantial. Nexus, Eli said, a note of concern in his voice. Are you all right? Zara's expression grew solemn. The effort of containing the power, it has taken a great toll. Nexus has expended much of its life force. Eli felt a pang of sorrow and guilt. Is there anything we can do? Before Zara could respond, Nexus's consciousness brushed against their minds. In that touch, Eli sensed not regret or fear, but a profound sense of fulfillment. The ancient guardian had fulfilled its purpose, ensuring the safety of Novaria and countless other worlds. As they watched, Nexus's form began to dissolve into motes of light, but rather than dispersing, the light swirled around Zara and Eli before sinking into the chamber walls. Eli gasped as he felt a surge of energy and knowledge flow into him. Nexus is becoming one with Novaria, Zara explained, her voice filled with wonder. And it's sharing its essence with us. Its knowledge, its power, we're to be the new guardians. Eli stared at his hands, watching in awe as faint bioluminescent patterns flickered across his skin. He could feel the connection to Novaria that Zara had always described, could sense the intricate web of life that spanned the planet. What does this mean? He asked, overwhelmed by the implications. Zara took his hand, her touch sending a spark of shared energy between them. It means, Ellie Donovan, that our journey is just beginning. We have a duty now, not just to Novaria, but to all the worlds that might be threatened by forces beyond their understanding. As the last of Nexus's physical form faded away, Eli and Zara stood in the newly stabilized heart of Novaria. They were forever changed, bound together by their shared experience and the legacy of an ancient guardian. So, Eli said, a mix of excitement and trepidation in his voice, where do we go from here? Zara's eyes sparkled with newfound purpose. Everywhere, Eli. We go everywhere. There are worlds out there that need our help, mysteries to unravel, and bridges to build between species. Are you ready for that adventure? Eli grinned, feeling the thrum of Novaria's energy coursing through him. Always. Let's show the universe what humans and Novarians can accomplish together. Hand in hand, the unlikely pair made their way out of the planet's depths. As they emerged onto the surface, they saw Novaria with new eyes. The harsh landscape was still there, but now they could perceive the intricate beauty of its ecosystem, the delicate balance of energies that made life possible. In the distance, Ellie's ship, the Stargazer, waited, but it was no longer just a vessel for trade and exploration. It would be their home as they embarked on a new mission, to protect, to understand, and to unite the diverse species of the galaxy. As the twin suns of Novaria rose on a new day, Eli and Zara stood at the threshold of an extraordinary future. Their journey had begun with curiosity and the courage to reach across the boundaries of the known. It would continue with a shared purpose, a deep bond, and the legacy of an ancient guardian to light their way. The universe, vast and full of wonders, awaited.